Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's wonderful to be back here today. 2 weeks ago, we began a powerful journey of change together with Masaaki-sama's video message number 26. A Paradise on Earth starts from the kitchen. If you haven't seen it yet, the link is in the description of this video. In that study, we watched the video together and began to explore something deeply personal, our human nature and our desire to change. Maybe it's a bad habit, an emotion we can't control, or a part of ourselves we just don't like. We saw how, even though we want to change, it's incredibly hard on our own. But we received a revolutionary truth. Not only can we surrender our thoughts and feelings to God in the name of Messiah, but we can also take another step by changing what we eat. Masaaki-sama shared with us Meishu-sama's sacred word of how the inclination toward conflict is deeply rooted in what we eat. Could it be that our food habits are fueling conflict and pain, not only in the world, but in our own hearts? This week, we continue our study of this video message. We'll revisit key points from last time and go beyond to even more empowering and revolutionary truths Masaaki-sama is bringing to us in this message. So let us open our hearts and minds to the gifts God is bestowing on us today. Stay tuned as we begin right after this. As we begin today's study, let us, in the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, one with Jesus Christ, recognize that it is only by God's grace and Kyoshu-sama's permission that we are able to hold these studies. With hearts filled with gratitude for this permission, let us at this moment invite all our ancestors, the ancestors of all of humanity, who live and breathe within each one of us, to participate in this study with us, acknowledging that the thoughts and the feelings we experience during this study are the very thoughts and feelings that God has atoned for within each one of us. So, in the name of Messiah, let us together, with them, return to heaven as ones who have been forgiven and saved through the atoning blood of Christ. Let us begin today's study with the Church Canon. Church Canon. With great fear of God, we acknowledge that the Lord God is our true Father, the one and only God. We revere Meishu-sama as the model for all humanity and as our own example to follow. Meishu-sama, who was born anew as a true child of God, the Messiah, by receiving the divine will that God accomplished in heaven. We believe that Jesus Christ, who 2,000 years ago embodied the name of Messiah, the name most holy and high, is serving the Lord God in unity with Meishu-sama. And we regard the sacred word of Kyoshu-sama, who reveals to us the will of Meishu-sama in this material world, as the sole, absolute, and irreplaceable foundation in advancing our mission here on earth. Words of prayer. God, I acknowledge that you are alive. Within me, you are alive. I thank you for nurturing me to be newly born as your child. May this blessing be shared with all. In the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, I surrender myself to you. Please use me as you wish. Thank you. For all those of you watching who have not yet become followers of our church's Instagram page, this is a great time to do so. All you have to do is open Instagram on your phone. Search for World Church of Messiah. Once the page opens, below the name of the page, you will see the button to follow. Click on it. But it doesn't end there. On the top right-hand corner is a bell sign. Click on it to enable notifications. Make sure to enable all notifications. By doing so, you will be updated daily and in real time when new posts are made in the Instagram page. This is a great way to align our soul and hearts with the holy seed of Kyoshu on a daily basis. Through the Instagram page and Facebook, it is also a great way to see how our church is bringing this gospel of salvation to the world evermore, with not only the sacred words that are being posted daily, but also through the 3 pillars of salvation: prayer, food, and music. They are truly amazing posts. There's so much we can learn and so much that we can share with our family and friends. It is a true treasure. So don't forget to share. Every week I choose a couple posts or 1 or 2 posts from Instagram for us to have in mind during our study. In this week's Instagram, we have the following sacred word from Meishu-sama's sermon on October 15, 1952. In the first post, Meishu-sama shares, "A shortage of meat would be God's work of regulation and His telling us to stop eating meat already." Again, a shortage of meat would be God's work of regulation and His telling us to stop eating meat already. In the second post, Meishu-sama shares the following. The number one reason why there is so much illness is, of course, the toxins in medicine. But the second is overeating meat. The number one reason why there is so much illness is, of course, the toxins in medicine. But the second is overeating meat. Receiving this sacred word of Meishu-sama, we can see just how vocal he was regarding food, medicine, and the need for us to reevaluate our way of living. It is truly unbelievable how disconnected we became from this true will of God that Meishu-sama was trying to bring to us. Every week as we hold these studies online, it becomes more and more evident how truly blessed we are to be guided by Kyoshu-sama and Masaaki-sama, to return to the true will of Meishu-sama. It's really something that goes beyond words, how grateful and how blessed we are. 2 weeks ago, we watched together the video by Masaaki-sama, message number 26, A Paradise on Earth Starts from the Kitchen. And I shared some points that really moved me. But today, I'd like to read the transcript of the video together with you, touch on some of those points again, and go even deeper into the revolutionary message that Masaaki-sama is bringing for us. If you haven't seen the video yet, or would like the PDF for the transcript, both are available in the description of this video below. So, as we read together Masaaki-sama's message number 26, let us open our hearts, let us open our minds to the true path that God wants for us. We want to change. We want to change something within ourselves, don't we? Even though we may love who we are, we want to change. For example, our tendency to easily get jealous, to readily get irritated, to say that one thing you know you shouldn't have said, or something like that. And the thing is, no matter how hard we try, no matter how much we want, it is really difficult to control our emotions and actions, isn't it? That is, it is really difficult to change and overcome our weaknesses. To this, Kyosho-sama gave us a solution. For us who act in a way we ourselves do not know, we ourselves do not even want to act, or we who say things that we ourselves do not want to say, to surrender the whole of ourselves to God in the name of Messiah as ones whose sins are already atoned for and forgiven. In essence, Kyosho-sama is encouraging us to accept the atoning blood that Jesus shed for us 2,000 years ago. Even though I cannot stress enough how important this practice of surrendering is, today I want to provide another solution to our problem, and that is diet, or more specifically, a vegan diet. I'm just making a quick pause here. I think, as I shared last week, right, this is revolutionary, as we're seeing, right? To see that the very change you want to occur within you, no matter how hard you try, there's something deeper connecting you to that inability to change or to being stuck in that weakness. And that is the food that you are consuming yourself. More precisely, a non-vegan diet, as Masaaki-sama shares here, right? And he continues, let me quote directly from Meishu-sama's sacred word. He said, vegetables made from nature farming are delicious. And this is truly important. If they are delicious, people will eat more vegetables. As you know, eating vegetables is good for your health. But more importantly, your nature changes. Human nature changes. People today are aggressive and easily get into fights or even kill others. This violent nature is related to what we eat. Unfortunately, vegetables today are grown with a lot of fertilizers and taste bad. That's why people are forced to eat a lot of meat and fish. But when vegetables are grown without fertilizers, they become delicious. The inclination toward conflict is deeply rooted in what we eat. As the world of Miroku comes, I need to make people eat more vegetables. For that, vegetables need to be delicious. To produce delicious vegetables, they have to be grown without fertilizers. The benefit of nature farming for humanity is truly enormous. You didn't realize this point until today, did you? But I believe we have to let the world know about this too. Sermon, April 27th, 1952. Masaaki-sama shares. Here, Meishu-sama is saying that the reason why we easily get irritated and become aggressive is because we are eating meat and fish. He's saying that the cause of conflict in the world is due to meat eating. Just a quick pause here, right? Guys, think about this. the cause of conflict in the world is due to meat eating. Right? Have you ever thought about that? Those of you who are watching this for the first, second or third time, probably this already, crossed your thoughts for a while. But think about that, right? Think about your home life. Think about your interactions. Think about all those arguments you have with the ones you love or the people you know. Have you ever considered that the food you're eating, more specifically the meat eating diet, is the cause of those conflicts? It's hard to see how the two would connect together, right? But look at what Masaaki-sama is sharing with us here. This, I say, is very understandable. What do you expect? The animals we eat are dealt the most aggressive form of our expression, killing them. This sonin, this aggressive sentiment, of course, enters our bodies when we consume them. More than that, as all living beings wish to survive, before those animals are slaughtered, they feel so much fear, anxiety, despair, helplessness, and all the other negative feelings we human beings would also go through if we were about to be killed. These negative feelings also, of course, enter our bodies if we eat them. This is big, right? If you're really just pausing here for a second, right? If you think about that, the very act of slaughtering animals, right? The most aggressive act that we have, right? This most despicable act a human being can take, which is to take a life, right? This very aggression we consume if we eat animals. At the same time, the very feelings that those animals go through, as Masaaki-sama is sharing here, fear, anxiety, despair, helplessness, and all other negative feelings we human beings would also feel. We would also go through it, right? If you were about to go through that process and be killed, that is consumed when we eat animals, when we put that in our body. And as I mentioned last time during our study, it is so easy nowadays. We are so separated from the life behind the food that we eat, right? In this case, the animals that we're eating, that we equate food as the nutrition that we are intaking, right? The proteins, the vitamins, the nutrients that you are taking as you're taking in that food. So we've come to the point where we equate whatever it is that we're eating to even a pill that has the same chemical composition. And basically, we brought everything down to this very materialistic view of the world where everything is just a chemical formula, right? This pill equals this vegetable or this animal that we're eating. And we've separated ourselves to what it means to consume food, what it means to take that life and take in that life, those feelings and those thoughts when we eat. And that's really, if you stop to think about it, right, it's a scary thought and a very big reality that we're in today, right? We are so separate, so distant from that we've become numb to that truth. And not only that, today we can't even see the repercussions, right? The side effects that is having in our lives, in our daily lives. And look what Masaaki-sama shares with us. He says, however, through the sacred word I just cited, Masaaki-sama is providing a solution to this great problem of the violent human nature, that is, eat more vegetables, or rather, change your diet to a vegan diet. This way, human nature will change and there will be less conflict in the world. As a result, paradise on earth will emerge. This is also a huge point, right? The very nature of human beings can change. It's not only influenced by what we eat, but can change. I remember growing up, right, studying in school, and that debate of whether or not human nature was ever changeable, could be changeable, and many would argue that it's non-changeable, right? You're stuck with that for your whole life. But here, Meishu-sama is saying to us, it can. Not only it can, it will if you change the foods you are consuming. And we will live in a much more peaceful world, right? Truly, a result, a paradise on earth will emerge as we are seeing here, as Masaaki-sama is sharing. He says, this is huge, isn't it? I mean, I thought I had to live with my human nature and my weaknesses forever. But Meishu-sama is saying that we do not have to give up. He is saying that if we change our diet to a vegan diet, preferably eating vegetables grown without any agrochemicals, of course, but also without any chemical, biological, or natural fertilizers like manure or EM, our human nature can change into one that does not lead to conflict or fights or war, but to peace and harmony, one that can construct a paradise on earth, an ideal world that all of humanity have been wishing for a long time. And he continues, he says, let me put it this way. From Meishu-sama's point of view, the key to constructing a paradise on earth does not rest in the hands of politicians or presidents or business people. Rather, it is in the hands of those who stand in the kitchen. It is in the hands of farmers who work with their bare hands, covered with mud, not using any fertilizers or agrochemicals. It is not in the hands of those who wear suits like me, but in the hands of those who wear aprons and rugged clothing. It is not in the hands of those who just eat food, but yes, in the hands of those who cook and produce it. Everyone, this is a revolutionary message. Until today, we thought that an ideal world could come only when those who occupy important jobs, like those world leaders, do something. But Meishu-sama is saying that this perspective is completely wrong. And actually, it is the opposite of what we have believed until today. Everyone, making a quick pause here. Because this is enormous, right? So we received this revolutionary message from Masaaki-sama. And one of the first revolutionary points is the food we are eating influences our very human nature, right? And the key to resolving conflict is the change in that food, right? Changing to a truly vegan diet without the use of herbicides, chemicals, pesticides, right? That is, you think, wow, this is big, right? This is a huge point. This is truly revolutionary. And then Masaaki-sama brings to us more revolutionary point to look at. That is, who has the power to change the world? And this couldn't come in a better time, right? With all the chaos that we are experiencing in the world today, and people looking out and hearing the news and feeling all this despair and all this uncertainty and saying, my, what's going to happen, right? What if this politician did this? What if this political leader did that? What if these leaders did this and that? And he feels so powerless. He's bringing to us a completely different view of the world that Meishu-sama is giving. The power of one individual, you, me, watching right now, receiving this sacred word right now. The power of the farmer and the power of those cooking the food, preparing the food, not only consuming and making that change, but producing and bringing about that change to millions more. How amazing is this, right? How awe-inspiring and how life-changing this is. Masaaki-sama continues. He says, he's saying that the power to change the world lies in the kitchen. That is, it lies with you and your hands. If you cook a vegan diet in your kitchen, this will reduce the aggressive and violent nature of human beings and lead to the creation of a paradise on earth. If you, on your farm or in your small garden you have at home or wherever and however produce vegetables without using any additives, believing in the power of the soil itself, this leads to a paradise on earth. To put it more bluntly, I say that it depends on each of you as to whether a paradise on earth arrives or not. Because if the key to world peace is in the kitchen, you can no longer blame others like politicians or presidents of the world and say that the world is in chaos because of them. It is you who need to do something for the world. I mean, Meishu-sama is showing us that a paradise on earth starts from the kitchen and from the soil. Just making a quick pause, right? I think that there's so many points here for us to look at and really let it sink in, right? Bathe yourselves in this truth that is completely revolutionary, right? Masaaki-sama is showing here with us. He's saying that Meishu-sama is saying that the power to change the world lies in the kitchen. That is, it lies with you and your hands. World change is much bigger than going out with a big megaphone and trying to change the world, right? It starts with you in your very own kitchen. Today, we are so distant from our kitchens, are we not? We are so used to instant meals and ready-made and ready to go. And you just, put it in the microwave and walk away and eat, and you don't think much about it. And it's like a place that many people want to avoid because it's troublesome, it's time-consuming, has all these negative connotations, negative sentiments to it, right? In the United States, you'll find more and more as studio apartments come along, the kitchen becomes a little section of the wall and that's it, right? Or even homes that have kitchens, the kitchen's always clean, right? Barely ever used. And many families will eat out or order out, and the kitchen is just so, disregarded in so many ways. And I can't say that's for everybody, but many, many homes, I believe, have that kind of lifestyle today, right? But the power to change the world lies in the kitchen. That is the core. It's like the center of the home, is it not? The kitchen and the dinner table, where nowadays many places have been replaced for the couch or for on the go meals, right? So he's saying if you cook a vegan diet in your kitchen, this will reduce the aggressive and violent nature of human beings and lead to the creation of a paradise on earth. That's big, right? Because you can think, well, great, we need to change the world, but what can I do, right? It's one meal. But that one meal is huge. Like it's a ripple effect, right? The one meal that you're preparing in the truest sense, with its truest purpose, truly vegan, truly serving God through that process, will reduce the aggressiveness and violence, that violent nature within you, within your family members, within those enjoying with you. And that ripples outward and it begins that change outward. It's not outward in, but inward out, right? And he further even says if you on your farm or in your small garden you have at home or whatever, wherever or however, produce vegetables without using any additives, believing in the power of the soil itself, this leads to a paradise on earth. And this is another point that really, caught my attention, right? Because many people say, well, great, I want to farm or I want to begin a garden, right? I want to begin my planting, but I have no idea where to begin. I don't know. I don't have manual. Look what Masaaki-sama is sharing here. You're planting without additives, believing in the power of the soil itself. Simple ingredients, right? Seed, soil, and the belief of the power of the soil itself is enough. Of course, you can't plant out of season, right? You have to do a little research, and there's so much information out there. But Masaaki-sama's nature farming is so simple, right? It's not about knowing too much. On the contrary, it's about believing in the power of soil itself. And that is also revolutionary, to say the least, right? And he continued, as we saw, he says, to put it more bluntly, I say that it depends on each one of you as to whether a paradise on earth arrives or not. We can't wait for that paradise on earth to arrive. It depends on each one of us. Because he says, if the key to world peace is in the kitchen, you can no longer blame others like politicians or presidents of the world and say that the world is in chaos because of them. You can't do it. It is you who need to do something for the world. I mean, Masaaki-sama is showing us that a paradise on earth starts from the kitchen and from the soil. When Masaaki-sama shared this, it reminded me of President Kennedy's words, right? Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This is even in a large, bigger scale. Ask not what God can do for you, what the world can do for you, but what you can do for the world, what you can do for God, right? How you're going to serve God in this process, how you're going to bring that about. It really brings home that sense of responsibility also, right? For each of our lives, for ourselves and for our family, for our future. Further, he shares, it doesn't matter whether you are a man or a woman, but you who stand in the kitchen have a power that none of us have realized until today. But can I just say, isn't it an undeniable fact that until today, men have often thought that the work they do outside the house is more important than the work the women do within it? Namely, looking after the home and standing in the kitchen? How wrong this thinking has been. So I say, the time of revolution has arrived. the paradigm has shifted. The center of divine work is definitely not outside the house, but yes, inside the house, where women often are. This is also huge, right? Look at what Masaaki-sama is sharing with us. The center of divine work is in the house. It's in the kitchen, right? Not outside the house, but inside the house. Furthermore, look what he brings us to see. And I say that now. Men need to throw away this erroneous thinking that what men do is more important than what women do. And that the time for women to take the lead has arrived. Really. Here, I am in no way suggesting that women should continue to be the ones who do the cooking. No way. Men definitely need to do that too. I am trying to make us all, women and men alike, awaken to the truth that a paradise on earth starts from the kitchen. I myself am doing my best to spend as much time as possible in the kitchen and share the responsibilities of housework with my wife. You might say, oh, but those organic vegetables are so expensive. But you have to remember the posture of Masaaki-sama, who started to produce his own food when there was a food shortage in Japan. And actually, this was how he started nature farming. So let us follow the example of Masaaki-sama and produce food instead of simply buying and consuming it. We thought that we needed to do something special to serve in divine work. But if Masaaki-sama is saying that humanity follows a vegan diet in the world of Miroku, then every day, with every meal you prepare, you can be a part of the divine work of constructing a paradise on earth. This is amazing, right? It's this sacred word is really, it's so empowering, so energetic, so exciting. I mean, look at the paradigm shift, right, that Masaaki-sama is bringing to us, not only on the roles of the kitchen, the roles of men and women, right? The truly ideal harmony in which God created men and women to serve his plan and to serve him together as one, right? But furthermore, the fact that wherever you are in the world, you can participate in this divine work of constructing paradise on earth by the meal you're preparing. That is huge, right? Here in the US specifically, we have members and friends and people who want to be engaged and sometimes are so distant from one another, so far from each other. It's like, well, what can I do in the middle of nowhere, right? Or so far from churches. Well, here's a simple practice. Start from your kitchen. Start from the meal you're preparing. Furthermore, you can go a step further. Start planting. Take a small plot of soil. If you have a backyard, great. If you have a small space in your front yard, great. If you don't, you can use a planter box. Whichever and however you can start. You know, I have a neighbor close to my house, and it's amazing. He has such a small space, and it's amazing how many vegetables he has planted in his home, in that small space that he has. I think it's just overwhelming. I don't even know if he can consume all that vegetable that's there, right? But it's amazing how much you can do in the limited space that you have. And that is in itself contributing to this construction of paradise on earth. And the very food that you are preparing, the very food that you're eating, or the very food you're serving to friends and family is part of that. One meal at a time, one plate at a time. And Masaaki-sama continues, he says, so let us, with burning passion, believe in the words of Meishu-sama, practice nature farming, get muddy, and prepare and eat vegan food like this. Let us change the world from the kitchen. And as we are talking about the importance of soil, I now feel the necessity to revisit the only sacred ground of Meishu-sama on earth at the moment, the sacred ground of soil. That's right. If all the bureaucratic and administrative issues are cleared, I will once again go to Angola, to Africa this year too, hopefully in August. And this time, I am coming with my wife, Mommy. This is also amazing news. So exciting to be able to know Masaaki-sama and his wife, Mami Oksama, will be going to the sacred grounds in Africa, in Angola. And it's so thrilling to be able to receive the sacred word from them and learn with their example this purity of faith that they have in Meishu-sama, right? So that we can truly follow in the steps of Meishu-sama to fulfill God's will. So I'm excited to share that we'll be having a pilgrimage from the US to meet with them there and serve with them in the sacred ground of soil, the only sacred ground of Meishu-sama in the world at this moment. It's really exciting news. And this is a really, really revolutionary moment. And for all of us who are here on this earth at this time, I can't stress how blessed we are to be part of such a change and how wonderful it is to be called by God to serve and to serve from our own home, from our kitchen, one plate at a time. Let us together bring this revolution not only within our homes, but to the world at large. Thank you for joining us. And may all honor, may all glory be returned to God always.